Namaste. I express my sincere thanks to Nāṭyaśāstra Anusandhana Kendra to inviting me to deliver a lecture about one aspect from Nāṭyaśāstra. I am happy to talk about the concept of NāṭYADHARMI from Nāṭyaśāstra. That concept is relevant to all traditional forms existing in all over the world, because Shastra is not only for some particular region. Shastra is for everywhere, for everybody. Shastra should be universal truth. It should be true, devoid of region, time, person, caste, creed. It should be relevant to everybody all over the world. Then only it is called Shastra. In Nāṭyaśāstra, the concept of NāṭYADHARMI is very, very important for all artists, all individuals who are practicing their own art form. Nāṭyaśāstra is very important for practitioners in India. That is because when we are presenting any kind of art form, it may be music, it may be songs, it may be theatre, it may be painting, it may be some other kind of art form. Whatever it is, however modern you are, it is necessary that you know about your tradition. It is very important that you are firmly rooted in your tradition. Only when you are firmly rooted in your tradition, you are able to present sublime art. What does it mean by sublime art? Art might influence people through emotion. Some artists are very much skilled to influence the people using highly charged emotions. Some emotional situations they are creating, and that emotional situation naturally affect the viewers or the readers, so it affects them emotionally. But that kind of emotional influence is good, it is necessary in an art form, but only an emotional influence cannot be called a sublime art. A sublime art should influence you in your emotionality, of course, that is the first level, and then intellectually it should affect you, and culturally it should affect you. So there are several layers. That is why our classical forms, all our classical traditional forms, not only from India but in different parts of the Asian countries, if you go to Japan, if you go to Cambodia, if you go to Bali, so everywhere, not only in different states of India, everywhere you can see this kind of traditional forms which contain very strong tradition of practice, tradition of presentation, tradition of appreciation. So that tradition is existing. However modern you are, it is necessary to know the tradition and live in the tradition, at least for some time. There are some theatre people who come to people like me who are classical performers. They come to us and stay with us for a small period of time, and they experience the traditional theatre form. So this kind of experience is very important. That is the speciality which India can give to the world. In our tradition contains a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge, and this knowledge is codified. This knowledge, the traditional knowledge, is codified knowledge. The codified knowledge exists in the practicing system. When the Guru teaches us, the Guru gives some kind of advices, and these advices, they might not be any quotation from some text. No, they are from the Guru's experience, from his wisdom, from his experience of the traditional practice. This wisdom comes, and that suggestions, that advices comes to us while we are doing the practice. For example, very important, our Guru says you should practice daily. The daily practice. Every day you should find out some time and practice. So, and while you are practicing, you should start it remembering God. So these kind of things are psychological techniques, the wisdom, and these wisdoms, they are giving us as codified. They are codified. When you are practicing this for a long time, this codified knowledge slowly gets decoded, so that we are having connection with the wisdom. So that is the importance of tradition. Once you are a part of the tradition naturally gives you great knowledge. This kind of knowledge, traditional knowledge, is collected, and this kind of knowledge is made in a number of different concepts, and all these concepts compiled together, and that text is called Nāṭyaśāstra. So Nāṭyaśāstra is a text which compiled the traditional wisdom around 2000 years back. It says the time of Nāṭyaśāstra might be BC 200. It then from that Nāṭyaśāstra which we get right now is an abridged form of an original Nāṭyaśāstra. That is how it is said. So there was a much larger text, and what we are getting right now is an abridged form. Anyway, so it contains a lot of concepts, a lot of ideas of traditional wisdom. If you are able to use your own intellect, and if you are able to decode it, and if you are able to understand that wisdom, that will help you to understand your own practice. For example, I am a Kathakali performer, and understanding this knowledge helps me to understand my own performance and to make my own performance more and more better and better. That is the purpose of Nāṭyaśāstra. That is the purpose of studying Nāṭyaśāstra, understanding Nāṭyaśāstra, reflecting upon Nāṭyaśāstra, going deeper into Nāṭyaśāstra, and understanding the concepts and bring it into your practice. So here I am coming to a concept of NāṭYADHARMI. The concept of NāṭYADHARMI is very important for the director who is imagining of his own performance. Dharmi, that which is having dharma, is dharmi. Dharmi means that which having dharma. Dharma means well defined behavior. That is dharma. For example, I have my own dharma. I have my own specific defined dharma. So I should be very strong in my own dharma. So dharma is the swabhava. So my own nature, my own original behavior, original thought, original concepts of this individual. That is my dharma. So each individual has his own dharma. So that which is having dharma is called dharmi. So when you are doing a presentation, when you are doing a presentation, a performance, a kind of musical presentation, whatever it is, if it is having a well-defined form, a well-defined presentational form, then it is called dharmi. That which is having dharma is called dharmi. And this dharmi, when you are having a concept about a presentation, you can do it in two different ways. That is what Nāṭyaśāstra gives us the knowledge. Two different ways. One, you can present your presentation exactly as it happens in day-to-day life. For example, when you are presenting a character, the character, you can present that character just like he is walking on the road. So very realistically you can present him. When you are presenting him in a realistic way, it has its own nature, its own defined nature, because the director wants it to be 100% realistic, not naturalistic. And that kind of a presentation is called lokadharmi. Lokadharmi, that which is having the nature of loka, the nature of daily life, the nature of day-to-day life. That is lokadharmi. But there can be another kind of presentation. When you have the concept of a performance, you can imagine as characters which are not like the daily day-to-day people. It can be, it cannot be naturalistic. It can be much different from the naturalistic characters. It can be non-realistic, surrealistic characters. You are able to present characters like that with big forms, with eyes and different costumes, and they walk in a different way. They speak in a different way. Their atmosphere is a different way. So this kind of a presentation where you can see such characters only on Natya, only on stage, that kind of performances are called NāṭYADHARMI. So NāṭYADHARMI presentation, when you are seeing very strange characters, when you are seeing people different from day-to-day life, then that kind of presentation is called NāṭYADHARMI presentation. Simply we can call it stylized presentation, not realistic, surrealistic presentation. So this kind of presentation is called NāṭYADHARMI. Very clearly, Bharata in Nāṭyaśāstra, he gives definition for NāṭYADHARMI. Let us go to the definition of it. Before going to NāṭYADHARMI, let us understand how lokadharmi is defined by Bharata in Nāṭyaśāstra. Because understanding lokadharmi will be easier for us to understand NāṭYADHARMI. Because NāṭYADHARMI is that which is different from lokadharmi, different from realistic, different from naturalistic, then that is NāṭYADHARMI. NāṭYADHARMI has a lot of possibility. When it is not realistic, when it is not naturalistic, then the possibilities are open to you. You are able to imagine in any way. The form can be any way, their language can be much different from the realistic language. So like that. But the presentation of NāṭYADHARMI has a very important purpose. I will come to that later. Now let us understand what is lokadharmi and how Bharata defines lokadharmi. The sloka, the karika. Swabhava karmopagatam shuddham tu vikritam tatha. Swabhava karmopagatam shuddham tu vikritam tatha lokavarta kriyopetam angalila vivarjitam. Lokavarta kriyopetam Angalila Vivarjitam Swabhava Abhinayasthanam Nana Stri Purushashrayam Yadidrisham Bhaven Natyam Lokadharmi tu Sasmrita Nana Stri Purushashrayam Swabhava Abhinayasthanam Nana Stri Purushashrayam Yadidrisham Bhaven Natyam Lokadharmi tu Sasmrita Yadidrisham Bhaven Natyam Lokadharmi tu Sasmrita. This is Lokadharmi. Swabhava Karmopagatam. Swabhava Karmopagatam. The actions you are seeing on stage are the Swabhava, are the inborn nature of each character. So one character has his own nature and he will be presenting only that nature. He will not present any other nature. In Nāṭyadharmi there are a lot of possibilities, like for example one character, if Duryodhana is there on stage, then Duryodhana might enact another person, like how he has seen Lord Krishna entering, then Duryodhana becomes Lord Krishna. Then that is not Swabhava Karmam, that is another person's karmam. Sri Krishna's karmam is presented by Duryodhana. That happens in stylized performance, but in realistic performance it won't happen. Duryodhana is always Duryodhana, and a character is always in his own Swabhava. Swabhava Karmopagatam Shuddham tu Vikritam Tatha. It might be Shuddham. Shuddham means pure, good natured, or Vikritam, a kind of bad or strange nature of behavior. Whatever be, whether it is good behavior or it is strange behavior, whatever it is, it should be according to the character. The character's own behavior is presented. So that is in realistic. Lokavarta Kriyopedam. The theme presented in Lokadharmi should be realistic. What is the importance of Lokavarta? Lokavarta means the news. The news should not be imagination. When you are presenting what happened yesterday or what happened 10 days back, that is news. So it is realistic. Always the news should be realistic. The news should not be imaginary. Then it cannot be called news. It cannot be called Varta. Varta means it is realistic. It happened somewhere. That is why it is news. So Loka Varta, it should happen somewhere. No need to be, not necessarily happened, but it can happen at any time. That is the Lokadharmi theme. Lokadharmi story means it can happen somewhere. It can happen at any time. So Loka Varta Kriyopetam. Kriya also. It should not be strange kriyas, impossible actions. The actions on stage, if it is Lokadharmi, then all the actions should be realistic. It might have happened somewhere or it can happen anywhere. Impossible actions, imaginary actions should not be presented in Lokadharmi. Then it cannot be called Lokadharmi. Then it becomes Nāṭyadharmi. So here, Loka Varta Kriyopedam, Angalila Vivarjitam. So the dance and hand gestures, this kind of Angalila should not be used in Lokadharmi, in realistic, because how you are behaving in day-to-day life, that is why this kind of acting is called behavioral acting. This is behavioral acting. So you are not doing any kind of dance or that kind of Angalila, but you are behaving as the character. How the character walks, how the character sits, how the character speaks, how the character behaves when he is in a public space, how the character behaves when he is in his private place. So this kind of behavior is presented. So behavioral acting, that is Angaleela Vivarjitam. Swabhava Abhinayasthanam, that is also very important. Swabhava, he presents only his own bhava. When we understand Natyadharmi more, we understand that in Natyadharmi there are possibilities of one character can present a number of different characters' bhava. Not only the character can be depicted, the another person, another character can be depicted by this character. That is one point. And another person's bhava also can be depicted. But in Lokadharmi, it should not be like that. When I am on stage as Bhima or I am on stage as Macbeth, then I should present only my bhava. If I am presenting another person's bhava, then that is not, because in our day-to-day life, we do not present another person's bhava. In our day-to-day life, in realistic life, we are presenting, we are showing our own bhavas, our own feelings. In behavior, it is like that. That is why in behavioral acting, you are not supposed to present another person's bhava. You are supposed to present it your own bhava. Swabhava Abhinayasthanam. Nana Stri Purushashrayam. In a realistic play, a male character is presented by a male actor. A female character is presented by a female actor. That is realistic. That is Nana Stri Purushashrayam. For female characters, female actors are needed. For male characters, male actors are needed. But in Natyadharmi, it is different. In Natyadharmi, a male can act as female, a female can act as male. So we are seeing that in our classical performances. We are seeing that. That is Natyadharmi. But in a realistic, a male actor need to present male characters, and female actor need to present female characters. Nana Stri Purushashrayam Yadidrisham Bhaven Natyam Lokadharmi tu Sasmrta. If the presentation is in this way, then this kind of presentation is called Lokadharmi. Very clear. Lokadharmi is very clear. Swabhava karmopagatam Shuddham tu Vikritam tatha Lokavarta kriyopetam Angaleela Vivarjitam. Swabhava Abhinayasthanam Nana Sri Purushashrayam Yadidrisham Bhaven Natyam Lokadharmi tu Sasmrta. Now let us move to Natyadharmi. What Bharata talks about Natyadharmi? Bharata talks about Natyadharmi as Adivakya Kriyopetam Atisattva Adibhavakam Leela Angahara Abhinayam Natyalakshana Lakshitam Swaralankara Samyuktam Aswastha Purushashrayam Yadidrisham Bhaven Natyam Natyadharmi tu Sasmrta. Very clear, and how beautiful it is. Ativakya Krayopetam. Ativakyam means exaggerated dialogue. In a Natyadharmi presentation, the actors do not use realistic conversation. They are using highly poetic kind of presentation. It can be songs. Then if it is song, then it is naturally stylized, and it no need to be songs. In Kudiyatam we can see they are presenting Gadya, the prose in Sanskrit, but in a highly stylized way. There are a lot of modern theatre presentations in which they are presenting dialogue in a highly stylized way. So the meaning of the dialogue itself need to be Adivakyam. For example, in Kathakali, when Bhima falls in love with Draupadi. When Bhima expresses his love to Draupadi, he calls her Panchala Rajatanaye Pankajakshane Panjasayaka Nilaye. So Panchala Rajatanaye, I will use this example for some other purpose also. That is why I am introducing this particular line. So this particular line we will use again for some other purpose later. So Panchala Rajatanaye, oh, the daughter of the king of Panchala. It is highly stylized, beautiful song presented on stage. So the actor is calling, the actor who is there in the form of Bhima is calling Draupadi. Oh Draupadi, who is the daughter of King Panchala. Panchala Rajatanaye Pankajakshane, whose eyes are as beautiful as lotus flower. Pankajakshane Panjasayaka Nilaye, who is the abode of Kamadeva. So these kind of conversation are ativakyam, exaggerated words. Usually you do not call your lover like that in your day-to-day life. Then if you call like that, then your beloved might imagine that, oh, this person has some kind of problem. So that is why in day-to-day life it won't happen. But on stage, Bhima calls Draupadi Panchala Rajatanaye Pankajakshane Panjasayaka Nilaye. So that is Adivakyam, exaggerated, highly poetic, bringing a lot of other imagery in this presentation. So that is the beauty of it. Adivakyam. Adivakya kriyopetam. Atikriya. Adivakyam atikriya. Atikriya, exaggerated activity. In Lokadharmi, it should not be atikriya. It should not be an exaggerated activity. In Lokadharmi, you can see that the news, Loka Varta, whatever happened or whatever can happen in day-to-day life is presented. But here, atikriya, exaggerated. For example, when Bhima is walking, in each of his footsteps, the whole earth is trembling. That is atikriya. So then Hanuman, who is sitting far away from Bhima, and he feels when he is doing his penance was disturbed by the movement, the trembling of the earth. So that is atikriya, exaggerated. And while Bhima is walking with his club, gada, like this, then all the animals like lions, tigers and deers, they are afraid of him and they run away. That's also exaggerated. And with his club, he just strike a tree, and with his left hand he just pluck big trees and throw away. That's also exaggeration. It never happened in day-to-day life. But we are imagining Bhima like that. We are able to imagine Bhima like that because Bhima doesn't belong to a history, doesn't belong to historic characters. Bhima is a mythical character. That is the difference between myth and history. That is why in our NāṭYADHARMI presentation, we are not presenting realistic characters. We are presenting mythical characters. The mythical characters who live in our imagination. So you are able to imagine. We have never seen Bhima. Whether that character existed or not, whether he has existed, he is not as we are imagining about him, because that historical character, whether Bhima is historical or not, that character became a mythical character. When he has become a mythical character, then he is existing in our imagination. So we are able to imagine him in our own way. One demon, Rakshasa, Ravana. He saw Mount Kailasa and he did not want this mount on his way. He wanted this mount to go away from his way, his path. But Mount Kailasa did not move. You have seen Mount Kailasa, how big it is. It did not move. Then he has 20 mighty arms. He has 10 heads also. And with his 20 mighty arms, he just lifted this mountain and throw it to the sky. It can never happen. It will never happen. But while you are seeing a performance, while Ammanur Madhavaccharyarashan is doing it, or Kalamandalam Ramankutty Nayarashan is doing it, you feel that it can happen. That is the power of Naṭyadharmi. So the Naṭyadharmi, that is Atikriya, exaggerated action. But when this exaggerated action is presented, naturally our heart, our mind is followed. Our mind is following this actor, the imagination of the actor, and we are, and by through the acting, following the action of the actor, we are also going into the world of imagination. We are going into a world of highly imaginative world, which is beyond any kind of description. It can happen only in Naṭyadharmi. Only in Naṭyadharmi. That is why you can see that stories for the children, that stories for children are Naṭyadharmi stories. They are not realistic stories. They are Naṭyadharmi stories. Because these Naṭyadharmi stories always provoke our imagination and they take to another world. And when this imagination, when this kind of presentation has a very clear aim, very clear purpose, then that presentation becomes highly sublime presentation, because the audience, the viewers, are taken to another world of sublimity. Then that is called rasa, the experience of rasa. So that is the purpose of Naṭyadharmi. So the definition, we are now talking about the definition. Ativakyam atikriya, ativakya kriyopetam, atisattvam. Atisattvam means big costumes and big makeup, big presentation of the character. They are larger than life size presentation. Atisattvam. Atibhavakam, and the presentations are highly emotional, highly charged emotional. So the emotionality of Naṭyadharmi presentations are not as we are seeing in realistic, because in realistic you are presenting realistic way of emotion, but here you are seeing highly charged emotion. For example, when Bhima is expressing his love to Draupadi, that presentation of love itself becomes highly charged, because he is presenting so much images, a number of different aspects in it to present his love. For example, hand gesture language and the eye movements, and taking a lot of time. He is going deeper into each word, that is called Padarthabhinaya. Through Padarthabhinaya, you are going deeper into each word, and then he is presenting. I will come to all these things later. Then Atisattva Atibhavakam. I tell you one example, one experience of mine. When I was presenting Macbeth in Kathakali hand gestures, that was a Kathakali Macbeth, but in my ordinary form, like without any elaborate costume, without any makeup, Usually Kathakali uses heavy, thick makeup and heavy costumes. But I did not use this makeup and costume when I was presenting Macbeth. But I used the original text of Shakespeare, and I used Kathakali hand gesture language to interpret the meaning of Shakespeare lines, the lines written by Shakespeare. Naturally, then in Kathakali, when you are happy, it is not like that. When you are happy in Kathakali, so you present more emotions using your facial muscles, stylized usage of facial muscles, etc. So when I was presenting Macbeth, then some critics, they asked me, see, your way of presentation is highly melodramatic. I asked them, please come to watch the play and please watch it completely. They watched the whole play and they were truthful critics. So they again came to me and they told me that no, that melodramatic way of acting is necessary for your style. They accepted. So that is atibhavakam. You are emoting in a highly charged way, so that it suits, that presentation suits to your attire and your appearance and for your dances. So it should not be like you are smiling in a film, in a movie. In a movie, when you are smiling, you should not smile using a lot of facial muscles. If you are doing like that, then when your close-up is seen on screen, then it will not be very good. But on stage, it is different. On stage, you are presenting Nāṭyadharmi way of presentation. So for the presentation of Nāṭyadharmi, naturally the atibhavakam is necessary. Leela Angahara Abhinayam. Leela means a lot of movements, rhythmic movements. That is Leela. So your hands, your facial muscles, your whole body, all your angas, 6 angas and 6 upangas, all these parts of your body you are using rhythmically. So Leela Angaharam. Angaharam means well defined karanas, and a number of karanas are come together and it is called Angahara. So that is from Nāṭyaśāstra, these names. In another chapter in Nāṭyaśāstra, he explains what is Angahara, all these things. I am not going deeper into that aspect. Leela Angahara Abhinayam. You are presenting your acting using a lot of movements. When I was taking a workshop for some theatre people, when I demonstrated, I faced a question. Sir, why you are dancing while you are acting? That is how in our traditional performance, while you are acting, you are on stage as Duryodhana or Ravana or Sri Ram or Sri Krishna, but you are dancing. Your dance and acting go side by side. So a theatre person asked this question. I appreciated him because he observed it. So Leela Angahara Abhinayam. You are enacting using dance. Dance and acting go side by side. So that is Nāṭyadharmi, not realistic. In your day-to-day life, you don't express your feelings using dance. Very rarely we might do that, but that is Nāṭyadharmi occasions in your realistic life. It should be called like that. Anyway, so, and the next one is very important. Leela Angahara Abhinayam Nāṭyalakshana Lakshitam. Your presentation should be defined by very specific Nāṭyalakshana. What is Nāṭyalakshana? For each Nāṭya forms, For example, I am a Kathakali performer, and another person might be Kudiyattam performer, another person Bharatanatyam performer, another person Odissi performer, another person is Kathak performer, Chau performer, Satriya performer. You can see different kinds of performer. For each art form, they have their own Natya Lakshana, their own different nature specifically for that art form. Each art form has its own grammar. So the presentation should be based on one clear grammar. It should not be a kind of mixture. It should not be confused. You can take elements from other art forms, but when you are taking elements from other art form, it should be very clearly blended in harmoniously. You have to present. When you are presenting alien foreign elements in your performance, then through a process you have to internalize it. Only after internalization. So your presentation should be based on Natya Lakshana. From where do you find out the pure Natya Lakshana? That is a big question. My grand teacher, my guru's guru, Padma Sri Vazhankada Kunjanayar, he has written that it is your guru who gives you Natya Lakshana. He has written very clearly that it is your guru who gives you Natya Lakshana. My Natya Lakshana is based on my guru, because he has given me a kind of grammar through classroom, through discussion. In the classroom he has given in my body, not in my head, but in my body. He has given a Natya Lakshana. That Natya Lakshana, I have to observe it. I have to observe and understand the nature of my Natya Lakshana in my body, in my mind. So how it is there, my habituated. I have internalized it. I should understand about it. And that is my real Natya Lakshana. So Natya Lakshana Lakshidam. So you have to, that is the most beautiful aspect of traditional performance. So you are always depending upon your guru. And your guru gives you the courage to be strong, to be firm in your own form. So that is Natya Lakshana Lakshidam. Then Swara Alankara Samyuktam. Swaras and Alankaras are used for the presentation. Swaras, different swaras. You know, in when you are learning singing, you learn different swaras, and alankaras is traveling from one swara to another swara. There are different ways to travel from one swara to another swara. So that is swara and alankara. So when you are presenting your dialogue, it should be, whether it is prose or song, both, it should be with swaras and alankaras. So that kind of presentation is not realistic. In our day-to-day life also, we have some kind of intonation, but and a kind of accents and a kind of way of rendering. But on stage, it should be still different, or it should be stylized. It should be different, specially created for the presentation. Natya Lakshanam, according to the Natya Lakshanam, it should be presented. If it is songs, then the songs should be Shastriya, should be according to the Natya Lakshana. If it is prose, then also it should have some kind of style, very clearly defined style. That is Swara Alankara Samyuktam. Aswastha Purushashrayam. Aswastha Purushashrayam. In Lokadharmi, it said that Nanastri Purushashrayam. For female character, female actors should be there. For male character, male actors should be there. But in NāṭYADHARMI, it is different. In NāṭYADHARMI, Aswastha Purushashrayam. Purusha means individual. The individual should be aswastha. Swastha means I am in me. I am in my own personality. I am Kannan, so when I appear as Kannan, then I am Swastha. When I am Aswastha, I am not Kannan. On stage, I become Bhima, but in realistic Lokadharmi play, you are always Bhima, you are Swastha. But in Naṭyadharmi, it is different. When you are presenting Bhima, the Bhima might become various characters. Like when Bhima is walking through forest, he is seeing a snake. He is seeing a snake. Then he becomes a snake. He is seeing an elephant. He becomes an elephant. He is seeing a lion. He becomes a lion. And the fight between the elephant and the snake, he presents, the Bhima himself becomes elephant. And Bhima himself becomes the python ready to swallow. And it grabs his leg and tries to swallow. But then elephant is afraid and try to escape. So then slowly the elephant becomes very tired, but very afraid, but still tired because the python is swallowing. So this kind of presentation, Bhima has become a different character. So Aswastha, he is not himself. He moves to other characters. So in Malayalam, in Kerala language, we call it Pakarnatam. The Pakarnatam is possible in Naṭyadharmi presentation, stylized presentation. Not only when the actor is presenting some stories, he is doing this kind of Pakarnatam. In some other occasion also, see, when he is presenting Panchala Rajatanaye Pankajekshane, the same line which I have introduced earlier. Bhima talks to Draupadi, Panchala Rajatanaye. These are the hand gestures. I will present it. This is Panchala, name, and Raja, king. His daughter. Panchala Rajatanaye. This is calling. Tanaye, calling. Oh, beloved daughter of Panchala. So here, see, just presenting these gestures. These gestures are the gestures for the song. By presenting this gesture, this Bhima has become various characters. He became Aswastha. See, when he is doing Panchala, Bhima, I am Bhima. So Panchala, I have respect. So with all respect, Panchala. Then king, I become Panchala Raja. I become the king of Panchala. See, I am the king of Panchala. Power, his power. Now I became Bhima. Panchala, his. Then I become Bhima. So I became the king of Panchala. From there I went to myself, Bhima. And when I am doing this, again I become Draupadi. I am talking to her, but I am enacting Draupadi here. Now I am Draupadi. Now I become Bhima. And like that. Now again Bhima. So the Bhima himself becomes the king of Panchala, and again back to Bhima, and again Draupadi, and again back to Bhima. See, Aswastha Purushashraya, the individual is not himself, but in realistic presentation it is different. In realistic presentation, naturally it is always the character is the same on stage, because he is behaving, behavioral acting. Here I am not behaving, I am representing. So this is representational acting. I am the representative of Bhima. I am narrating Bhima. So what Bhima seen? What is the feeling of king of Panchala? I am narrating. What is the feeling of Draupadi? What is the bhava of Draupadi? And what is the feeling of Bhima towards Draupadi? So I am narrating using my body. So then that is called representational style of acting. So this kind of so this is Natyadharmi. So Aswastha Purushashrayam Yadidrisham Bhaven Natyam Natyadharmi tu Sasmrita. Not only this, a number of slokas are there, more slokas are there about Natyadharmi. I am not presenting all slokas here, but I think through this much of explanation, it is very clear what is Natyadharmi as described in Nāṭyaśāstra. And this kind of presentation is for giving a chance, giving an occasion for the viewer to go deeper into the subject and having deeper in a deeper way involve into the process of imagination. Because when the actor is doing some kind of movement, that trigger the imagination of the viewer, and the viewer gets a chance to go into his own world of imagination, and he is actually experiencing, enjoying the joy of his own imagination. That is the experience of rasa. When you are going into that imagination, through that imagination you are getting more and more wisdom, more and more knowledge, more and more experience about life, because even though the words are stylized, the costume, the appearance is stylized, his body movements are stylized, songs are stylized, everything is stylized, but the feeling, the relationship and the bhava, the emotions, they are from life. So even though Bhima is feeling love to Draupadi, the feeling of love is the same as mine or you. That is called Sadharanikaranam, universalization. So we are experiencing the universal bhava through these characters, and it is for the purpose of experience of this universal bhava we are presenting Natyadharmi. This Natyadharmi trigger your imagination and leads you towards that kind of your own experience of different bhavas in life, your own experience about life, and the in-depth insight to the insight about our existence, about our life. So if we very seriously engage in the process of studying our tradition and practicing our tradition, being a part of our tradition and internalize it in us and lead a life truthfully in our tradition, learning texts like Nāṭyaśāstra and different concepts like NāṭYADHARMI. It will lead us towards a sublime experience in our life. And I am very happy to share my thoughts now through this paper with you. And we are lucky because we are born in India, in where we have this much of life tradition still existing, still practicing, still live. So being a part of it, talking to you is a happiness. And once again, I extend my sincere gratitude and thanks to Nāṭyaśāstra Anusandhana Kendram. And I wish Nāṭyaśāstra Anusandhana Kendram will be able to organize a number of programs in future like this to disseminate the ideas of our tradition and to build up and to encourage our youngsters to live in our tradition, truthfully practicing it and understanding the wisdom, which will enrich our nation eventually. So, thank you for listening to my words. To all of you, I am thankful, and now I conclude here with my humble words. Namaskaram.